Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cyberdeck Podcast. This is episode number 2. My name is Paweł and I am joined by Kawa once again. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing very, very well. We're back to talk about some more card reveals, some very, very exciting ones this week. So I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, it's a packed one. Once again, we want to talk about the Kickstarter page. So if you're not following that, please follow it. We're very, very close.
Couple of
till
days.
March 17th,
Mhm.
and that's when the Kickstarter starts. So if you're not following, follow so you get all the news, all the updates. And we're super excited about it. But also, what about if you follow the Kickstarter? What will happen? So if you follow and back the campaign, you will get a free foil Nova Rare Lucy. And if you know Edge Runners, you know Lucy. She's an awesome, awesome character. And the art is just so good. I don't have to encourage people more. Do it, follow, back it. It's going to be worth your while. So that's all I'm going to say. That's it for me. And we can slowly start moving and into the cards, because that's, I think, why people are here.
I'm pretty sure, I think people want to hear us talk about cards and talk about abilities and stuff. Last note on the Kickstarter is, by the time this episode releases, we should be starting to tease out some of our actual pledge tiers for the Kickstarter. So if it's not live by the time this podcast goes live, next couple of days, we're only a few days away from the Kickstarter launch. That is actually one of the benefits of, if you follow the pre-launch page, you get some Kickstarter exclusive information before anybody else. So if you're interested to know what type of products we'll have available, make sure you're following the page. But Burza, talk to me about...
They're cool. I saw them. They're cool. I'm just going to say that. So spoiler alert, they're cool.
Yes.
Check them out. It's going to be worth, like I said, it's going to be worth your while.
All right. So first card we have here is...
Boom.
Dum Dum Maelstrom Triggerman. He's a legend.
Himself.
He's a yellow card. He's 2 RAM. And he has one very neat ability. It says, call, you may defeat a friendly gear. If you do, draw 4 cards. 4 cards is a lot of cards. Otherwise, draw 1. So immediately, it's nice that there's an otherwise effect, right? If you don't meet the condition, it's not like you will spend 2 eddies and call Dum Dum and nothing really happens. At the very least, you'll get a card. But drawing 4 cards is
crazy.
Is pretty powerful, honestly.
Couple things to note here. First of all, check out the tags. He's Maelstrom, so okay, Maelstrom cards, Maelstrom tag.
Yeah.
Can this be a thing? He's a ganger, of course. If you know, Maelstrom is one of those gangs well known from Cyberpunk 2077. They like to heavily enhance their bodies. They're on the edge of cyberpsychosis, so that's kind of the tipping point where you have too much chrome and you start becoming less human, and you're losing humanity and you're becoming a machine, and you're losing your mind because of that. So I love that this ability plays with gear, because that's what they're known for. They're known for enhancing their body with multiple gears. And I hope there will be more cards, wink wink, that are gonna utilize that. But it's actually cool because you're scrapping a gear in order to reuse it in the form of drawing more cards, which is also super cool, because this is a gang that pretty much modifies themselves, scraps things, changes things, and they have their own Ripper dogs and stuff like that. So they're constantly modifying themselves. This is very on flavor, and Dum Dum is a character that you see in one of the quests early on in the game. So when you're doing one of the quests where you're supposed to get the flathead, spoiler alert. So this is nice, and he's of course a legend. He's looking really cool. And then even if you don't defeat the friendly gear, you still draw 1 card, which is something that is useful in the game. So you're drawing, but drawing 4 is crazy, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of cards. I mean, what's crazy is between this Dum Dum and a couple of the other legends we've seen already, you could play a 3 legend yellow deck already, and they all kind of synergize together, right? You've got the Victor, who's looking for some gear cards. You've got the River, who's able to kind of cheat out a gear card for free, and then you've got this Dum Dum with some of those gears that you have. You're able to draw through some more cards to find even even more gears. So really cool theme happening here. And yeah, the point that you made about this card being very like on flavor, right? You know,
On brand.
they really deck themselves out with so many, you know, cybernetics and gears and stuff. So, you know, in my mind, when I look at a card like this, obviously the best kind of gear to pair with this is I mean, I don't know if there is a gear that does something on play, so like when it enters the field or when it gets you know, equipped to a unit or a legend, then it's kind of done its main thing. Then you can kind of scrap it and get a few more cards. Just cheap gears as well, maybe like one cost gears, like we said, like, you know, maybe you chuck a Kuroshi Optics onto something, you swing, you peek at one of your legends. Maybe one of those legends is Dum Dum and say, oh, okay, I've kind of used the effect of this Kuroshi Optics. Now I can guarantee that I'm going to draw 4 because I know that this legend is my Dum Dum, right?
Yeah, it's also about kind of thinking ahead. Like you said, you can attach gears to legends. So sometimes this is something that people are kind of wondering, oh, why would I attach something to a legend if the legend doesn't have the go solo ability? Well, sometimes you want to maybe do it because you know you have a Dum Dum and you know that you're short on resources. And for example, you will want to defeat the gear later on, but maybe you don't want to do it on a unit because you know that you might lose that unit, but you know your legend is safe because it's in the legend zone. So you're kind of thinking about all these multiple things in terms of gameplay, but drawing 4 is pretty big, especially if you have a hand full of resources that maybe are not helping you at the moment and you know you're going to need more cards. So this is a way out. And yeah, like I'm gonna say, flavor. This is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great point you make about being able to attach to, or equip one of your gears to your legends, because maybe you also have a board state where maybe you don't have any units on the field yet, right? So maybe you've no units, and you say, okay, my hand is like really weak right now, and I want to try and catch up, and so I'll call in my Dum Dum, and I'll gain a bunch more resources. Yeah, maybe my hand is lacking gear. Maybe I can't sell enough gear. I can't sell enough programs. So I'll use this to try and find some more sellable cards. So overall, I think just a super strong card. You want to dig through your deck, this is the guy that does it. All right, moving on to the next card.
Perfect.
We have Kerry Eurodyne, the last rocker boy. So this is a unit card. It's in the red color. It costs 4. It's 2 RAM and has 3 power, but it has a very, very, very cool ability. So this has the ability you can spend him, and if you have a gig at max value, you can draw 2 cards. So pretty impactful, but again, as you said, the same thing with Dum Dum, pay attention to the tags. These are 2 brand new tags that we haven't seen before.
Rocker Boy, Samurai.
And Samurai. So maybe some synergy there with some future cards.
Someone is bringing back the band together, or what? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Very interesting indeed. But this is the perfect card. The perfect card, in my opinion, to really explain the first glimpse into deck archetypes in our game.
Yes.
So this unit really cares about gigs that are at max value. So to put this into perspective, let's say I know I'm playing Kerry, and let's say if I'm going second, I know that I can sell a card and get to 4. So Kerry could basically be my first unit that I play. The gig that I want to roll in most likely is probably one of my smaller ones, maybe my D4, maybe my D6. If it's a D4, I have a 25% chance of being able to get a max gig. Then Kerry's on the field. You can spend him. You do have to wait a turn to spend him, so you can't spend him immediately when he enters the field. We want to balance it a little bit that way. But then there's a balance of if you go first or if you go second. Because if you go second, you can think about, okay, if my opponent happened to play a 2-cost unit that can attack, then they can steal that. Then they can steal that gig. Maybe I have to try steal it back. But the idea of this is the example of a card that greatly impacts the sequence in which gigs you want to kind of roll in. And then on your opponent's side of the board, as soon as they see that you're a deck that cares about max value gigs, they're like, all right, I'll roll my D12, I'll roll my D10, I'll roll the complete opposite to try and deny you any value of actually having max gigs.
Yeah, once again, I feel like it's with these reveals, like the ones that we did also in the first episode, once again, we're seeing more cards which actually play with the value of the gigs themselves. So I think that's adding, once again, more depth, and also talking about like, okay, how do the dice actually influence the game? Once again, we're seeing more example of this. And like you said, you can be trying to, roll the high, the lowest die in order to get the max value as soon as possible. Then your opponent might also be playing something which is kind of taking away that value, or messing up the value on the gigs that you have rolled. So playing with these things is super important. And you also are there kind of thinking, okay, maybe you're going to be in a space where you're kind of building a specific archetype that wants something in terms of the gigs that is going, if it's high or low, and then you're trying to counteract that in some way, or that you need to have cards in order to take those values down, because you don't want your opponent to be drawing 2 cards. And this is not an ability that is tied to a legend. This is an ability that is tied to a unit. So it's a 4/3, but the ability itself is pretty good, because drawing 2 for spending the card is always pretty good.
For sure, yeah, and you mentioned the examples of cards that are able to kind of manipulate the gig values. We saw one last week, which was the after party at Lizzie's, right? So obviously that was interaction for your rivals gigs, but I believe we also have Industrial Assembly, which was part of the alpha kit. So that was a red card that you can increase one of your gigs, and if it hits if you go above a certain street cred value, then you're able to draw cards. So there's a bit of synergy there. But yeah, this is the first card that we see an example of kind of that spend icon on an actual unit card, and this is something I like. I like cards that you have a choice of different things that you want to do with it, right? Like you can just attack with this carry, or
I agree.
You can obviously spend it to get the value. But in the moments where maybe you don't have the max value gig, maybe just swinging in with carry already is not too bad at all. So
yeah, I feel like it also plays to the thing that you mentioned in the first episode that we did of the Cyberdeck podcast, is the fact that when it comes to the alpha kit experience, it feels like it is very linear, but it is supposed to be in that way because it was supposed to explain to you the basics of the game and the interactions, and also how the phases within the game proceed. With these reveals, we're showcasing that there is more kind of in between interactions and things and choices that the player can do, because normally you would, of course, start the game by drawing, rolling, readying your eddies, spending, playing, and then go into attack. Here you can have the choice if you want to use the unit in order to attack, or if you want to use the unit in order to draw more cards. So the kind of that is in the player's hands, which I think is really cool, because as card gamers, we like to have the possibility to choose.
Yes.
So you're choosing what you want to do. And if you know that you're not in a, let's say, threatening spot, and for example, you want to draw more cards from your deck because you're looking for something specific, because you want to build a combo, this is what you do, because this combo will let you get ahead later on in the game. So you're not being aggressive from the get-go, but you're kind of thinking about, okay, somewhere later on in the game, I will be able to kind of catch up once I have all the cards that I need to pretty much make my combo happen.
Correct. Yeah. So super cool card. Really love carry. I think super versatile.
Yeah, he's cool. Yeah.
But
Rocker Boys, I mean, they're cool.
They are cool. Yeah. Maybe we'll have some more Rocker Boys. I don't know. Maybe there's a very famous Rocker Boy, but maybe.
Wait, what?
A little bit more to come down the line. All right, talk to me about Riding Nomad here.
Riding Nomad. All right. This is a unit. It's a 6/6. So you're spending 6 and you're getting 6 power on the board. This is a Nomad. If you know, Nomad is one of the paths that you can choose within Yervi. There's also a cool quest line tied to the Nomads. And also, I think the best romance option within the game, which is Panam. Spoiler, I love Panam. I think she's the best. So going back to the card and the ability, this unit can attack spent rival units the turn it's played. So this gives the unit ability to attack a spent rival unit the moment that it's played, which is pretty good. But it's a 6/6 also, which we've seen if we're comparing, of course, to the cards that were in the alpha kits. This is pretty strong.
And it's a 3. I mean, yes, considering it's strong, it's a 3 green ram, right? So that indicates that it is, a little bit above par. But yeah, this is the type of card that can hit the board instantly and have an impact, right? Be able to attack one of your opponent's spent units instantly. And I think overall, this is just a super solid card. Super solid card. If you're playing two green legends, you can probably slot it into your deck. Stats are decent. Like, stats are, yes, if we're comparing directly to the alpha kit, we had 4 7s. So 4/7 stat line, super, super strong. But, you need to compensate for the ability that this can basically swing immediately. But overall, I think it's pretty good. If your opponent just made a, really key attack themselves, or I mean, let's give it an example. Let's say your opponent just used their carry. This Riding Nomad is going to take carry out instantly,
Yeah. And it's also, this thing that, where your opponent is kind of overextending, like they feel confident. They feel like, okay, I'll attack this turn. It doesn't look like my opponent has anything to counteract with my attack. So I know I can pretty much spend this unit. He or she's gonna be fine. Nothing's gonna happen. And then boom, Riding Nomad, you can instantly go in, and it's the same turn that you play the unit, which is crazy. And these abilities pretty much kind of have, you're keeping your opponent on their tippy toes, so they kind of know that, okay, my opponent might be playing this, might have some type of interaction, so maybe I should not use this unit because, like you mentioned, carry is key here, and he can draw me 2 cards, but I can just lose him because he's a 4/3, and this is like a big 6/6, and that is coming in and just taking it out.
If you have any card that has a lot of value or is kind of, on the field as a threat, and if for any reason you think, oh, my opponent could answer it, like maybe it's correct to just not do anything with it and just wait a turn, or you're trying to wait for the correct opportunity. Again, maybe it's a card like carry that has a key effect and you want to use it at just the right moment. It's cards like Riding Nomad that you constantly have to think about, will my opponent have an answer? Can they impact the board kind of instantly? And I think the flavor of this card is really cool as well, though, because the Nomads love their weaponized vehicles, right? So it's kind of, you can imagine the scene out of the blue. They just come riding and they start shooting lots of stuff. Yeah, they just jump into it. So I think flavorfully the cards and the art is just gorgeous as well.
Yeah, it's really nice. I love it. I love it. And it actually plays to the setting. You're in one of the remote locations outside of the city, so you're seeing the Nomads, and like you said, the heavily modified vehicles is what they love. So every there kind of is for utility. So yeah, love it. And like we said, there's a lot of depth and a lot of choices on the player's side in terms of like what you want to do, how you want to do it. So excited for this one. And we're seeing the Nomad tag for the first time. I'm gonna say keep an eye on those tags because they're telling you something for sure.
I wonder if another romance option might have a Nomad tag. We'll have to see. All right. Next we have Royce Psycho on the Edge. This art is absolutely killer. Once again from Panda Art Studio.
Oh man.
And this card is super, super, super strong in my opinion. So it is a legend. It costs 6. It's 2 red ram. It has 6 power, but that power can increase. It has the Go Solo ability. So as a reminder, for those of you who may not know, you can pay the cost of this card to bring it into play as a unit, and it enters play ready. The second ability on Royce is during your turn, this legend has +2 power for each equipped gear.
There we go.
At the very least, if you have like a Mantis Blades equipped to your Royce, it's already at a 10. So I think Royce, and to be honest, I think a lot of these Go Solo cards are super strong. Even particularly like the earlier you call them, to be honest, because if you call this and then you get to curve, as you were saying in last week, you get to curve out perfectly into this card, it can be super, super, super strong. Or another thing you mentioned is you can, if you call this guy, you're not quite ready to bring him out, you can pre-equip him with a couple of gears and then bring him out for one massive swing.
Yeah, I kind of, when it comes to the alpha kit experience, I played those decks so many times and with so many people. And what I always do, and I kind of notice, is I love stacking gears on units. And I love that this is actually playing to that, because once again, Maelstrom, they have a lot of, cybernetics on them. They're equipping themselves all the time. So this is actually playing with the whole thing. They're full of gear, and Royce, since is one of the leaders of Maelstrom, he wants to have a lot of gear on him, and this makes him stronger. So yeah, pre-equipping or just playing him and then equipping, let's say, gear which maybe is just like I think you mentioned, it's one of the gears that costs only one. So you just do that. You stack a couple ones on him, and then he's getting +2 for massive. Each of those. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy, because if you think about the value of the amount that you're spending versus the power that you're getting, it far exceeds the cost. So why not do it? And perfect for Royce. It's like the perfect ability.
Perfect ability, right? And the art as well. Yeah. I think is that I believe that's the flathead that's beside him, right? So I think
yes, like he has his hand on it. Yeah.
So also another very iconic character from the game in the early stages, where
don't call him Simon.
Yeah, don't call him Simon. Yep.
Yeah, but he's an interesting guy. He's an interesting guy
for sure. All right. Yeah. The next card that we have
Meredith Stout. I want to do this one. I thought Meredith was an interesting character at the beginning of the game, and I'm happy that the way that we're also showcasing this card is kind of playing into the beginning. Sure. Once you're playing Cyberpunk 2077. Yep. So we have a Corpo, of course. She's a Militech. We all know that. And she's a unit. She's a 4/3. And when a rival decreases the value of one of more friendly gigs, you may choose a card from your trash and add it to your hand. Ooh, so something that lets you recycle cards from the trash. That's pretty interesting.
So I have a couple of points to make about cards like this. Super interesting. This basically, when this is on the field, you're telling your opponent, like, you cannot touch you cannot manipulate the value of my gigs, because if you do, I'm then gonna get a lot of value. So it could be one of those cards where it's not so much about the I actually think it's not so much about the ability. It's about what it says to your opponent. It says that if you interact with my gigs in this way, then you will get punished. So it's more of kind of like a blocker card to say, like, you better not touch my gig zone, because if you do and you manipulate those gigs, then you're going to get punished. There is one other thing I want to add is adding this is pretty strong, actually. So this is, you may choose a card from your trash and add it to your hand. So this is any card. So you can play some very cheap program cards, right? You can play, I don't know, 1 or 2 cost program cards. They'll go to your discard pretty soon. If your opponent does interact with your gigs, you can get that back. But another way that I like to think about manipulating with your trash zone is, for example, we have the Yorinobu from the Alpha Kit, and he has the draw and discard ability. And once you have more than 20 street cred, that just becomes a draw. But in this case, the discard might actually be important, right? It could be like, oh, I want to fuel my trash a little bit to be able to draw from there.
Get those cards back.
So it's like a second hand nearly. And again, like I'll say, for many other card games, right? The more sets and more cards that get added, your trash zone can actually quite easily become something that you can interact with a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're able to do stuff like this in Gwent. I could be wrong.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah. So an example like that.
I think it's a common theme within card games. Like, there is always some type of interaction that you have with the cards that either you want to kind of get rid of or discard or kind of put in your trash in this case. But also, it's one of the things that on the opponent's side is something that you need to take into account. So you see this unit and then you're kind of thinking about it. Okay, is the risk worth the reward? if, for example, if our opponent has this card out, but you see that there is nothing that can be a threat in the trash, then you're most likely okay, and you can do the kind of the the gig manipulation in terms of like changing the values how you want. But if not, this is kind of something that stops you from doing it, because oh no, what about if my opponent has something good like a Santa Vistan, for example, in the discard, and that is something that can interact with you heavily, and you're kind of like, okay, maybe this is not the time to do it. I don't want my opponent to get in resources from his or her trash and then using it later on in the game, because it can bite me in the butt. Yeah.
Yep. And the final point I'll mention is, like, let's say, for example, you have a Kerry that we just saw. You've got a Kerry on the board, and then you've got a Meredith. Meredith kind of protects your max gigs in a sense. Now, there's like two ways to go about it. If your opponent can still technically steal your gigs, that is a way around it. But if you can set your board up or your game plan up in a way where maybe you've got some blockers as well, or you deny your opponent interacting with your gigs in terms of stealing them, and the only way they can stop them being max gigs is through, gig manipulation, then a card like Meredith kind of shines. So it's kind of like a cool tech card in a sense, in my opinion. Right?
It's a red card also, so like you mentioned, it plays super well with Carry since they're in the same color pool. But super nice. Love the art here too. And I love also the kind of the angle from which it's taken, because Meredith, she is a badass and she likes to dominate, so it kind of makes sense.
Indeed. All right, so the next card that we have here this is a yellow card. It's Hanako Arasaka in
Still waiting at Embers.
Yeah, that was so funny when we revealed that card. The amount of comments that were saying, "I'm not coming to Embers." Oh my god. That made my day when we revealed
Cold classic.
That. Yeah. So this is a different version to the one that we showed. So this is a unit card. It is costs 3. It has 0 power. So this might be the very first 0 power unit that we've shown off in the game. So it's like super interesting. It's Arasaka, Corpo, and Netrunner. But the ability is where things get super interesting. So this Hanako says, play, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, then choose a friendly gig. Add all cards with cost equal to that gig's value to your hand and trash the rest. So this is a type of card that, at its best case scenario is going to draw you 4 cards, which is very strong. But I think the intention is more so that if you're looking for a specific card, I'm looking for this card that costs 2. I have a gig, its value is 2. Let me play the Hanako. Let me search through the cards to try and find that specific piece. But then also, we just talked about trash manipulation. This is also it's kind of important that this trashes the rest of the cards and doesn't like put them to the bottom of the deck instead, right? So yeah, how do you feel about this card? Before I will talk about the implications of a 0 power unit, but how do you feel about this effect in general?
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting. Like you're able to kind of go through the cards, and you can either hit things which are gonna accumulate a lot of resources within your hand, or you can, like you said, throw something in the trash that you can later interact with. This is once again a yellow unit, so it also showcases kind of what yellow is trying to do. So I'm already thinking like how I could potentially use this with other cards, but it's interesting. I'm just the only thing I was instantly surprised is like zero power. It's just like players always think about, is that good or bad? But I think it's kind of the fine tuning and balancing the ability, which can let you go really high, and then on the other hand, also having a unit which is a 0 cost. You can still equip this unit, you can add gear to this unit, so you can raise the power. So then you're also getting something on top of just the ability itself. But I feel the ability itself is quite powerful, because it can give you 4 cards that can go instantly into your hand. If not, it can help you filter through and find the card that you're missing at the moment. So yeah, it's really cool.
It's interesting as well, because you can also just, like, this is a card that you could really build your deck around. Like, you could be like, okay, I'll put like this many 4 cost cards, 3 cost cards, 2 cost cards. Maybe you like cap out at 4 or 5 and you build your deck in a sense that you can really take advantage of this card. You can make sure that your legends are very impactful. So on the turns that maybe, you know, maybe you're not curving out as well, you make sure that you use your legends to their fullest potential. So yeah, to speak about the 0 power here, 0 power is one of these things that if you attack with a 0 power card, you can attack with a 0 power card, it just wouldn't do anything. So you could attack your opponent directly with a 0 power card. If it had, you know, attack trigger, you would trigger the attack trigger, but you won't be able to steal any gigs from your opponent. It has to have at least between 1 and 9 power to actually successfully steal a gig. But as you mentioned, yeah, there are plenty of cheap gear cards, so you can start to equip this with with maybe a Mantis Blades, with a, you know, Kuroshi Optics, and you can start swinging and get some value out of a
we just turn it into a blocker if you need to block some damage, and you've already played the card, you already used the ability, so you might as well get, you know, rid of it, but then it can also serve the purpose of just being a blocker. So once again, more depth in terms of the interactions that you can have within the game itself.
Maybe, again, this is an example of a card which is like, you play it, it does a fantastic ability. You've gotten a couple of cool cards. And for any cards that may require, you know, this is literally me spitballing, I have no idea. But imagine you've got a card that says, you know, destroy a friendly unit to do something. This is like the perfect card that it's done its thing that it's wanted to do. And then you get to destroy it, and you get to take an advantage out of
the classic cannon fodder that you can get rid of once you use the powerful ability that maybe gave you a lot of resources. So it's a balance in terms of how you want to play it.
Yeah, I think cards like this that, you know, that would potentially have attack on them really have to be respected, because even though they're a 0 and they may not be taking gigs from you, if they're attacking every turn and whatever an attack ability may be, they can just keep doing that turn after turn after turn after turn. So you kind of have to respect that, right? This card as well, it can take you by surprise. It might just be a 0 that's kind of sitting there. Maybe you want to deal with it for a specific reason, if it's going to combo with other cards in the future. So I like the versatility, and I like the balance that you can still have 0
Plus
power cards.
The abilities on play, it's not, you know, you don't have to spend the unit. So if it's on play, it's also you know, a better reward.
It does it instantly, right? Yeah, exactly.
So like you said, you can just spend it, get rid of it, and then just move on. Cool ability. I feel like there's a lot of depth, and I also, when you mentioned like building your deck around this, you can kind of play around with the costs that you have within the deck, and you're kind of thinking, okay, I have these cards in hand, I have these cards in my discard, so what's the probability of me drawing into this and this and that is actually gonna fill the cost, which is equal to the gig's value. So yeah, there's a lot of like depth in playing around with that. So in terms of how you construct and build your deck.
For sure, yeah. All right. You can introduce the last card here. Let's get it.
Oh man, there we go. The last one. Once again, we're ending on a high one. It's Panem Palmer. Of course, I mentioned Panem before at the beginning of the episode when we were talking about the first Nomad card that we chose, which was Riding Nomad. So Panem, Nomad Cavalry, Aldecado, of course, Merc, Nomad. She is a legend, of course. GG easy. On call, ready this legend. So once again, we have a situation where you're able to ready the card, even if you used this card in order to pay for the cost of actually playing your legend. So she's instantly ready. And when a friendly unit attacks, you can spend this card, choose a gear from this legend, and equip it to that unit. If you do, ready that unit. Now, there is a lot going on here, which we need to unpack. But I'm going to say, such a cool ability, and it also plays to what I mentioned before. Sometimes you want to be putting gear on legends because it gives you something, and actually having the possibility to, you know, to choose a gear from the legend and then equip it to a unit and also ready that unit is crazy. And if I'm thinking about this correctly, would this give you the possibility to, you know, have a unit ready after you use, let's say, a unit's ability? That's pretty OP, right? Because you get like 2 uses.
You get to
a single unit.
You get to potentially 2 attacks, which is crazy.
Yes, 2.
Right? Yeah, because how this would work was basically the attack would be happening, the attack would still go through. Mid-attack it would ready, but the attack would still go through. And then you can, if that card cares about wanting to have a spend ability, maybe it's like the best example we have is the carry. Or if you just wanna attack twice, it's pretty strong. Yeah. So I think Panam is a very good card, a very, very good legend. It's quite rewarding to pre-equip it, as you mentioned. And not many legends. We haven't shown off too many legends that want to be pre-equipped. Besides the Royce, I would say so far is kind of the biggest one. But yeah, and then
sometimes you have the case where you have some gears in your hand and you're like, what am I supposed to do with them? And here you kind of you're opening up this play where you're actually able to move stuff around. And for example, if you want to move something to a unit and ready a unit that you don't want, for example, to be the target of any type of attacks from your opponent, you can also just ready a unit and kind of save it from being attacked from your opponent's side. So let's say you have something which is a unit that you want to use its ability, but you don't want it to be prone to attacks. You can move a gear to it, you can ready it, and it's pretty much safe. Or you can, like you said, attack twice. You can use an ability. Kind of opens up more lines of play, which is also, once again, super cool.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about that you can I mean,
go on the defensive.
You can go on the defensive. I mean, it has to be with the unit that you're attacking. So when a friendly unit attacks, choose a gear from this legend, equip it to that unit. But yeah, you make a good point where you don't have to swing twice. You can swing once and just say, all right, well, now I kind of got a free attack and you can't swing back at me at all.
Yeah.
Right. So it's two ways where if you want to get the 2 attacks, maybe it was a really big gear, and even if it's spent, it's so buffed up that your opponent can't swing back into it. But on the chance that it's really important that this card stays ready, like the perfect example is, let's say, even if you get 2 attacks with this unit, and let's say the unit was, it costed 4 or less. Floor it is still a card that cares about if the card is spent.
Yeah.
You could just ready and then say, I could have a 4-cost unit with a really good gear, and it's safe from floor it, right?
Yeah. Once again, it adds more depth. It also adds the additional kind of interactions between turns where players are kind of thinking like, okay, so he equipped this, and let's say, for example, what will happen next? Will this gear move on to this unit or to this unit or to maybe that unit? Will this person attack with this or with that? It kind of gives you more possibilities, kind of thinking like what can potentially happen. And sometimes within card games, it's kind of the small things that players kind of miss is the small interactions and possibilities and outs that players have in their head that they're kind of thinking about, sequencing things. And since in the game, it's built in a way where you attack with each single unit, you're declaring attackers one by one, you're able to play around also with the things that you want. So maybe you'll be moving a gear to a different unit and then attacking, or maybe your opponent is thinking, for sure, he or she will attack with the first one and will probably equip it to that one. Yep. And that's what they're kind of basing their blocking strategy or kind of their defensive strategy. So there's so much going on here that you can play around with. So yeah, super cool card. And I feel like it's a pretty hefty ability. And she's also like, once you call her, she's also you ready her.
Yes.
So you're able to use the ability, which is pretty good.
Yep, indeed. So yeah, that's all the cards that we have for this week so far. That was 7 total cards, and we just have even more coming out. So couple of days away from the Kickstarter launch now. I guess we can tease something. We can tease something. Something is coming. Just before the Kickstarter launches, you might see myself and Burza again. You don't have to wait a whole week to see us this time. we might
maybe you'll see us earlier. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah. You may see us earlier, closer to the Kickstarter. We have some very, very exciting things planned for you all. Cannot wait to get into it more. It's just so exciting. Yeah, it's really crept up. The Kickstarter has, it's crept up, man.
It's ramping up. Yeah, I thought it was just like yesterday where you guys were here in Warsaw in the CDPR office, and we were kind of showcasing the game for the first time. People were getting excited about the alpha kits. They're still excited about the alpha kits. Everybody wants an alpha kit. Thankfully, you guys are doing giveaways. Thankfully, you've also sent out the alpha kits to a lot of content creators, so they were showcasing their gameplay. They talk about the game. They also talked about the cards. A lot of Cyberpunk people also got the cards.
Yep.
So from the Cyberpunk community, they're super excited about the art. They're super excited about the card game. So, and we're in March. We're fully in March. So the time has really like flew by, and we're almost at the point which we're kind of all playing forward to, is just like, having the Kickstarter launch, see what people think about the tiers, what they think about the game, what they think about the cards that we're showcasing, and also theory crafting once again. So it's been a crazy ride, but I feel like it's ramping up all the time. And then of course, like I mentioned in the previous episode, like I said in this episode, we're in the spoiler territory, so we're actually showcasing the cards, getting people excited about them. And it's the best part of card games, is just like talking about the cards, theory crafting about the cards, and just looking forward to playing them in the future. So exciting times.
Agreed. Yeah. Super exciting. Lots more reveals coming to you all very, very soon. But in the meantime, be sure to follow us on socials, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitch as well.
Yep.
So yeah, that's...
And probably in the next episode, we'll be taking your comments for this one. Not
correct.
yet, but for the next one, we'll be taking any comments that you leave in the comments section. So once again, like we said in the first episode, I'll mention this in this one. Leave any comments, any suggestions, anything you're thinking about. If you have some ideas in terms of how the cards can be potentially used, also drop them. If you have a question for us, so for me or for Kawa, drop them. We're happy to answer. And yeah, comment, like, and subscribe, all that jazz, because that's what keeps us going. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.